good afternoon from a very, very balmy Essex here in the
Mhm.
UK. And I'm with the other two amigos, we're the three amigos who are going to be doing a Q&A. And I think it's about the third or fourth one we've done there, guys, isn't it? Something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and they've got some great questions. So let me just introduce everybody. So we've got Keith Meldrum over there in British Columbia, who's just given you,
Hello, everyone.
there you go.
Hi, guys.
And down the bottom there, we've got Dave Oxley, who's another pain self manager and comes from Buckinghamshire and
Yep.
also part of the Pain Toolkit Academy. So, listen, got some really, I think, got another four questions for us. Um, and I don't know what's they're getting not harder, but they're getting, I'm really, they get they're thought provoking. I have to think about them as well, But these are questions I think from healthcare professionals and people with long-term persistent pain, but also self-managing. And they just wanted just coming up with some simple, well, not simple questions, but questions on
Mhm.
more about self-management. So let's dive it straight in.
All right.
So our first one is from Katie, who's a person living with pain. And she says, what lifestyle changes or adaptations might I need to make as part of my self-management program? So I'll hand it over to one of you guys to start us off.
After you, Keith.
Okay. Well, thanks, Dave. That's a great question. Um, what comes to mind for me, first of all, is the first thing that comes to my mind is about sort of slowing down. And but what I mean by that is life in general is just really busy. And when you're living a life with persistent pain, it gets really challenging. And often we get caught up in just doing things and sometimes pushing through. That was my sort of default way of trying to do it, was just kept pushing through and putting my head down and trying harder and harder. And what really worked for me was when I realized that I needed to kind of slow down at times and take a step back and make opportunities and prioritize my health to be able to self-management. And that can be more of a sort of psychological or emotional shift because you have to say, look, I'm important, and to be able to help myself, I need to follow these tools, which is going to require me to kind of step aside from life sometime and say, okay, here's what I need to do for myself, and planning for that, things like the setback plan and things like that, having these things ready and available for you and then following them. Because it's pretty easy, I think, to get caught up in just the constant going and going and going. And that constant going just feeds back into our pain and just makes things worse. So I think it's about just recognizing that we're going to have to prioritize our self-care, give ourselves a little compassion, and say, this is what I need to do to look after myself. Because if I invest in myself a little bit, the return on that investment is going to be like literally tenfold.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks, Keith.
no, really good, Keith. To build on that, you're going to have to get used to saying the most unpopular word in the world, which is
Hmm.
no.
Yeah.
You're going to
Yeah.
try and do as much as you did before. And as Keith says, you're not going to be able to. So, yeah, you can, to a
Hmm.
certain extent, use your condition, be it pain or something else. It works for all long-term conditions. You can use that as an excuse to get out of stuff that you kind of used to go to just because you felt a sense of obligation.
Yeah.
You can now be that person that goes, I'm ever so sorry. I would love to attend, but I'm not feeling well enough. And then you use that energy and that time and that mental capacity that you've saved by from going to that event to do something that you enjoy a
Mm.
little bit more. So you've got to say no, but you can use it in a positive way and focus on the things that you really enjoy or that really benefit you as opposed to benefiting someone else and causing you pain or other types of inconvenience.
Mm.
Brilliant. Excellent.
For me, really,
Yeah.
it's about the lifestyle changes. Really, was to I'd have a plan. Um, I learned all that stuff when I went on the pain management program at Input, and the because I think above before then I was rudderless, and I was all over the shop. But that what that program gave me was the give me that sort of rudder, so it was a steer a steady course, and I had to have a plan, and I had to stick to it like as much as I could, not and try not to detour from it. So that involved doing we would call it now meaningful movement. Back then, it was make sure I do my stretches and exercises daily and things like that. So really, it was and having and being not strict with myself, but be determined to stick to it because,
Hmm.
listen, back then, to me, I was at the last chance saloon, and
Hmm.
I, I run out of options. I had to. This was my way of getting out of jail, really. So it's making lifestyle changes, and as you say, Dave, is that don't be afraid to say no to people because
Hmm.
we've got to put ourselves first. We can't do. People say to me, "Yeah, let's keep it as simple this way." People saying, "What do you do, Pete?" I said, "Well, I've got two jobs. My first job is looking after me. Second job is working with you guys and other people here and around the world. Like I can't swap them over. I've got to, self-management's got to be as um, common as like brushing my teeth, like or when
Hmm.
someone else to have hair, like perhaps comb my hair or something, brush my hair. But it's got to be, it's got to be part of my life,
Yeah.
self-management. It's,
Yeah.
and not it can't be an add-on or do it when I want, if I have to, if and when I had to do it, it has to be a daily thing. Okay, number two. This is from a healthcare professional called Gordon. And how can technology such as apps or telehealth, virtual reality, etc., enhance pain self-management strategies? Beforehand, you guys said that what I mean, because I've sort of delved in that.
Hmm.
The technology has become quite a big part of healthcare, and it's going to get even bigger, I think. So especially with AI coming along now. Um, but the things I've delved in over the years with is an app. There used to be a Pain Toolkit app. Um, Telehealth. The only first time I heard of the word telehealth was actually by a Canadian doctor, Keith.
Hmm.
Because before all this business of Zoom and whatnot,
Hmm.
I always remember because over in Canada there's such a vast space of ground, area of ground.
Hmm.
So what this guy, I was listening to British Pain Society pain meeting, and he said, so what he would do is because they couldn't get out and the patients couldn't get into the hospital to see him, he set up a telehealth where they dialed in a number, and then when the other end of the phone, a recording starts. So to learn more about pacing, press two
Hmm.
about exercise,
Oh,
relaxation,
yeah.
But now I don't really hear the word telehealth quite a lot in our game. But virtual reality, yes. I come across virtual reality by talking to a good buddy of mine. I work with Dennis Martin up in Seaside University, and the very first we there was a we started delving in it about 5 years ago. Might be a bit more actually. And we teamed up with an organisation, a university over in West London, and what they come up with was a Pain Toolkit Cafe, a virtual reality one. And the good thing about it, we actually run workshops from out of it, So it's just people signed in, chose an avatar, and then I used to go for a workshop with them, But then that project sort of died away, and then someone over in Australia told me about this Japanese doctor who was who had got a virtual reality hospital for his patients with pain, and I thought, yeah,
Hmm.
how crazy is this? So anyway, I got involved with that, learned a bit about that, and look, what I like about that VR platform is that you don't need a headset. Ideally, it'd be great if you can use a headset, but you can use your laptop or your computer. your phone or your tablet, etc. And so what I did about 2 or 3, might be about 3 years ago now, I created the Pain Toolkit platforms where I run workshops out of there, self-management platform as well. And so to me, technology, I think it's a lot of people see it as all a bit technical, but hey, listen, I want to tell you something. I had an ex, she's moved on into a home now, but the next door neighbour who I had up until last year, she was about 80s and she loved her little tablet, and
Hmm.
she used it to do her exercises with, um, look at around the world, etc. Find out about, send off the prescription for a medication. So to me, technology is being used already in healthcare, and I think we need to embrace it instead of sort of pushing back from it. Uh,
Hmm.
and I think we need to use more of it in uh, in self-management. The good thing about it as well, so the thing is, not everybody can to see someone face to face. If you live in a rural, uh, you live in in a rural area, especially over where you are, Keith.
Hmm.
The massive spans of Canada. Um, is that with VR and technology and stuff like that, this technology Zoom.
Hmm.
When I first started off doing stuff like with the Paint Toolkit, people say, "Well, how many emails did how'd you get?" Back in the day when I first started off, if I went to the contact someone, I'd write a letter or telephone them,
Hmm.
So this is pretty much Captain Kirk stuff for me,
Yeah. Yeah.
So technology, and we're using it already, don't we? Us guys here, we use it to run our conferences.
Hmm.
The next European Pain Conference coming up in October, on the 18th of October, and I think now we're doing our fourth international pain self-management conference
Hmm.
in February next year, and so to me, we're using our technology. It gives us platforms where we can connect with other people from all around the world, etc. So yeah, so I think
Hmm.
it does. We can get the word out there quicker and faster.
And
So
don't you've undersold yourself there, Pete, because there's also AI Pete. So when we put the recording for this up, we can put the link to AI Pete up there as well.
okay, yeah, I forgot about him. Yeah, AI, yeah, there's an AI version of me. So again, that came about from working with Dennis Martin up there in the Teesside, and I had to sit in a chair for a couple of days answering questions about myself, Pain Toolkit, and self-management, really. So
Yeah.
the theory you go onto it, you have to just register, click on, make a few clicks, and you can sit there and ask me questions, and hopefully you'll be able to answer the question, type in your question, or you can actually ask me verbally.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think you press the space bar, or you click on a thing, and you can just speak.
Yeah.
And unlike the first version that I was testing, because I was one of the alpha beta testers on it, it didn't pick up any accents whatsoever. But now,
Hmm.
it actually can cope with accents from around the world.
Hmm.
Oh, good. Okay.
One of the things I just wanted to add to that, Pete, and you just provided such a great sort of overview of technology is, they asked about apps. And, for me, and I think for maybe many people, I use a couple of apps to track what I do for my meaningful movement.
Hmm.
And I do it just because I'm a little bit of a data nerd. So I like to see how things are going. It actually tracks my health. Yep, got the smartwatch here. I got a Garmin, got the app.
Yep.
And so I like to look at things like I check, I can check my heart rate over time and how much movement I've done, how far I've walked or run. And because for me, I see this life that we lead, living with pain, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So we're in it for the long run. So I don't need to be fast out of the gate and then flame out. I just need to be consistent. And
Mhm.
consistent isn't always this. Consistent is like this. Like you have ups and your downs, but you're always moving forward.
Hmm.
And I like to just look back and see over time, how I've done and if I'm kind of on track with my goals. And if I'm not, then, it keeps me a little bit sort of honest to maybe try a little more. But yeah, I think it's a great way to just collect that data too. And then when I'm talking to my doctor, I'm like, here's my health, here's how much I've moved, what I've done, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're great, on the phone you can crack, how many steps you've done and whatnot.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
to me, I embrace it. I don't sort of kick back from
Yeah.
it,
Yeah. I think there's a lot of good that can come from it for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So the third one is from Eric, who's a person living with persistent pain. I like this one. What should I do if I don't see any improvement in my pain after and following attending a pain management program? I'm not sure if I always use the words people use it. So what should I do if I don't see any improvement in my pain after following attending a pain management program?
Ooh, that's a
Mm.
really good question.
Yeah,
It gets
Hmm.
right to the
that's
root
thought
of it,
provoking,
doesn't
that
it?
one.
There's a lot to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Who wants to grab that one? Go ahead, Dave. Hmm.
I'll go because you two have been thrown under the bus for the first two, so I think it's only fair that I suffer this time round. Um, but yeah, that's a really deep question because
Hmm.
there's no simple answer because the pain that everyone feels that's got long-term pain differs from person to person. What works for me won't work for Keith potentially.
Hmm. Hmm.
Keith put this brilliant video out recently of him running on a treadmill. You are never going to see me run on a treadmill, so it's fine. I'm not going to steal the thunder from Pete, from Keith. But that works for him, but it doesn't
Hmm.
work for me. So
Hmm.
what I would do if I'd been on a course and it hadn't worked for me is I would sit down and I would work out what I've been shown to do during that course because something somewhere will have
Hmm.
resonated with you.
Hmm.
Not all of it's not going to work, not all of it's going to work. Some bits will, some bits won't. So take the bits that either weren't as bad as the rest of it or were significantly better or whatever, but whatever bits you resonated with, use those and start to build on those. And the other thing is that you're not going to see an overnight improvement. If you attend a
Yeah.
2 week course,
Hmm. Hmm.
everything's not going to be okay by the end of 2 weeks. You've been given the tools that you can then use to improve your life over time. So don't give up. It's probably the most important thing. Take the bits that work, build on those, get consistent with those, then loop back and see some of the things that didn't work initially because you'll be in a different place and they may well work for you then.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's brilliant, Dave. You actually just you hit the nail on the head with what I thought as well. It's the first thought I had was don't give up. Like it's easy to be discouraged. Just like you said, it's a 2 week, whatever, a 2 week program. What you're given are these sort of foundational skills. And just like you said, what doesn't work for you doesn't mean it's not going to work. Find things that did kind of connect, go back to those, start to tweak them, play with them. I didn't have the opportunity to go through a course. I kind of had to learn this on my own, and I found the things that worked. And one of the first things that worked for me, and I always thought was just dumb for years, was relaxation breathing. Like that is so powerful. And when I finally started to do it, I noticed it actually had some effect. But like you said, I didn't wake up the next day and go like, wahoo, my pain's all better. I just noticed in the moment when I did it, I'm like, oh, this actually has some benefit. And you build on those skills over time. So I guess my takeaway on this was just as you said, don't give up. Like don't
No.
think it's not going to work. You gotta kind of shift. And just like you said, Dave, find the things that did kind of resonate with you and keep working on those. And over time, just it's slow and steady. It's the marathon, not the sprint.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what we need to remember is when we go on a pain management program, we're not pain free, and
Yeah.
when we go on there, the pain's still trying to grab your attention, so our attention span is pretty low.
Hmm.
So they
Hmm.
recognise this on programs. So that's why they give us lots of notes, etc. And the thing is, it may have taken a lot of months or years to get where you were with not managing pain and whatnot. And it may take a bit of time to sort of get yourself back on track, I guess, like that. I think with most pain management programs, you can. I always remember that when I went on to anyway, they said you can tap in, come, give us a call or contact us if you get into any challenge, if you get any challenges come along. And so I don't think you need to feel, well, I've done that, I can't do it, I'm not allowed to. I think not allowed to contact them anymore. So I think you can go back and ask questions. Um, but I just think be patient with yourself. Like, it's not it does take time. And for me, I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not a very quick learner anyway myself. So, but I know that I had to keep just follow this, follow this, the skills that they showed us. When I started doing that, my confidence started to return.
Mhm.
Pain started to reduce slightly,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
in time, started decreasing even more. And I forget the I think I always say to people when they come off managing pain, it's hard going. So um, I don't know if you've heard this one day, but in the meetings, don't forget to buy yourself an ice cream. You know, because we need to the work we're doing, the self-management work there, we need to give ourselves a pat on the back and
Mhm.
don't forget to step back and say buy yourself an ice cream. That give
Mhm.
yourself, give yourself a reward, And I think
Yeah.
I remember them saying that on my pain management program.
Yeah, and also talk to people around you, because as you persevere,
Mhm.
they'll notice the improvements in you long before you will,
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
you're living with
Yeah.
it day after day
Yeah.
after day.
yeah,
They'll see you, and suddenly
Yeah.
you're doing something that you weren't doing last week. So yeah,
Mhm.
talk to those people, and then that will help to build that momentum for you.
yeah.
Mhm. Excellent point. Yeah.
We've got the Pain Toolkit Cafe. If
Yep.
I'll put a link on that. We run those once a month. If you want to come and join us on there, just people that self-managing. Dave's that comes along a bit early in the, I think it's during Keith's evening. So no, it's obviously you won't be able to do it, but we have people we have healthcare professionals and people with pain join the toolkit, but come along and if you want to, if you've got any challenges that you want to share through, but don't so much talk about the pain itself, but we pretty much zoom into self-management stuff,
Yeah, and yeah, and if you don't want to, if you can't make the call, or you don't want to, you can always just contact us through the Pain Toolkit website. There's a
yeah,
contact us page there,
yeah,
and Pete, myself, or somebody else behind the Pain Toolkit
yeah.
will reach out to you, and we can arrange some personal help
Also the
around that.
also on the Pain Toolkit Academy, Dave, there's a community hub there, and
Of course, yeah.
so where you can ask questions to other people that have registered, that
Mm.
are on the calls, etc. So,
Yeah. One of the most important things is that peer support, right? Connecting
yeah,
with others
Yeah.
who get it. They might not know your exact story or journey, but they understand overall
yeah,
what you're dealing with. And there's
yeah,
nothing like talking to people who get it.
yeah.
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 Okie dokie. So last but not least,
Hmm.
a lady called Yvonne. She's a healthcare professional. How can I? How can we tailor pain self-management programs to meet the individual needs of diverse patient populations? Should I start off with this one? Because this was a biggie when I worked in the NHS, National Health Service, and we worked on the NHS on a program called the Say Expert Patients Program.
Hmm.
Our remit was to um, get go to all the communities, so like the
Hmm.
Asian community, Chinese community, the
Yeah.
Protestant community, travellers, and the thing is, it's going to um, instead of us. I think the best thing is instead of you thinking, Yvonne, what have you got to come up with? Is actually investigate, go to these communities and say, listen, this is what we want to do, what we'd like to do. We want to work with you.
Hmm.
So how can we do that? What is the best way to do it? We don't
Yeah.
just produce materials or run workshops. What we think you need,
Hmm.
and what would be the best way to do it? So I think it's about engaging those communities, find out what their needs are, and then go from there. I mean,
Hmm.
we did. We was that program was really such an empowering program because I remember a lot of the other trainers like myself, they was I mean I was in charge of Essex, like so we did it. The only diverse ones where it was like travelling community, the travellers, and the way we did then we went and saw the person who headed up the travelling, their community in Essex, find out how can we best engage with them. And also, I think over your way, Dave, we used to start engaging with the prison community. We did a couple of courses in Bedford
Nice.
prison. Um, but my colleagues, other trainers, especially in London, when they had to deal with like the Black and Asian community, the Chinese community, etc., they would go and see, I think, from memory, the religious leaders
Hmm.
who were head, head of them those those communities and say, look, we because you can't say that people from other backgrounds don't get health problems like they do.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
been bit mindful. I learned something in I know you won't know it, Keith, but in Norfolk there's a massive Portuguese community.
Hmm.
And so when I found out, I thought, what the hell are they doing up there? Where did they come around, But I can't remember but it really shocked me because in Norfolk, it's all. I would never have thought there would be a Portuguese community there. So we had to go and talk to the people who had who knew about that community, so
Hmm.
we can engage with them, like.
Yeah. I
Yes.
think the what I like to just about what you said, Pete, is I think a lot of these self-management concepts and techniques, they're foundational. Like you build off of them. And by doing as you say, like talking to these different communities and cultures about what's important to them, I think when you get that feedback, then you can just tailor some of those things to be more focused to those. Like, in some cultures, spirituality is a really big part of what they do. Well, you can easily incorporate. I mean, that's part of the pain toolkit and the self-management is spirituality, whether it's religious or nature or whatever. It's understanding for those communities what is important to them and because underneath all of that are these foundational self-management skills that don't change. It's just how you tailor them or tweak them to fit what are important and meaningful to those communities. So you don't have to wholesale redesign anything. They're there. It's just there. Just as you said, Pete, it's understanding, engaging, and knowing what's important to people and culture and communities, and then just highlighting these self-management tools in a way that reflect them.
Hey, can I ask you a question? Obviously, I'm aware of Native Americans in the US, but I know obviously you've got Native Americans in Canada. I mean,
Mhm.
does the pain management community engage with those with
So
Native Connect?
So healthcare in general, and I would say this includes pain, is getting better at in Canada and engaging with in Canada we call them our Indigenous communities, but they're First Nations or
Hmm.
but no there's just no way to put it other than we're still as a society not good at engaging with our Indigenous communities because their needs are a lot different. Socially, their lives are a lot different and how they address things like pain culturally are
Mm,
very different than what comes from like an anglicized white community. And and there's a lot of long-term health issues and pain in the indigenous communities just due to social issues and all of that. So we're starting to do it, but we need to do it more to understand what's important to them. And one thing that we know in our indigenous communities is they're much more spiritual than we are. They talk
Hmm.
about the create in Canada at least they refer to it as the creator, which is just their way of talking about the sort of what has developed nature and all that. really cool concepts. When you understand what's important to the Indigenous communities, it's much easier to then introduce the self-management tools to them in a way that resonate with them.
Mm.
So the short answer to that, Pete, is it's happening in Canada, just not nearly as much as it should.
Yeah, I was thinking
What?
just sorry,
Sorry.
Kate,
No,
sorry,
go for it,
Dave.
Keith. Oh, sorry, Karen, Pete.
I was going to say, I think I was talking to Dave about this during the week. I know I watched a program. You've heard of a guy called Jamie Oliver, Keith,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
chef.
Yep. Yep.
Well, he's a person with who lives with dyslexia, and
Mm.
he wanted to get dyslexia. He was doing some research, like, well, where is it quite, profound or whatever. But he said that people that offenders in the prisons.
Hmm.
I can't think of the percentage off the top of my head. I know it was massive. That so many there was. I don't really want to say the figure because I just can't remember.
Hmm.
No, I'm sitting here with my mouth open, thinking, God, I didn't know that. But there's a high percentage of offenders who are
Hmm.
dyslexic, and through dyslexia, people get frustrated, etc. And it's about well, they were saying about producing more visual. They're going to be more types of visual learners than I think a lot of people we're paying, I think we're visual learners, but with people with dyslexia and writing if I'm wrong, guys, if
Hmm.
whoever's watching or hearing this,
Hmm.
so keep if you're going to be, we've got to think about these people who are living with pain who may have dyslexia. It's no good giving them a leaflet
Hmm.
if all the words are all jumbled up, etc. So we need to be so a bit more visual. We try to do that via the website with videos and cartoons and audio stuff and whatnot, So, but sorry, Dave, what was you going to say?
Yeah, so I was going to say that what I'm hearing from the two of you is, we're not you're not really changing the content. It's taking that and delivering it in a manner that resonates with your audience.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, as Keith said, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to rewrite all of the
Uh,
material. You've just got to bear in mind your audience,
Hmm.
because you're not presenting the data, the information so that you understand it. It's so that they understand it. So, you know, talk to them, learn how they learn,
Hmm.
then deliver it in that way,
yeah,
and you'll be, amazingly effective and hopefully have a massive impact on somebody's quality of life.
yeah.
Totally agree.
Positive
Yeah.
impact, sorry.
Positive. Yes.
Just recently, I did thinking about how people use their faith
Yep,
to
Hmm.
manage their pain, and
Hmm.
GP up in Bradford, has seen. We did a bit of work. I know he said he used did some pain management stuff around faith, etc. And I think I did some guidelines, and I think I put them on the website.
you did.
Um, so
Yeah,
once again, it's about it's rather than I think this is what's nothing personal against healthcare professionals, but they try and give us what they think we need, rather than
Yeah.
going and finding out what do people need,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what?
What a concept, eh? Find out what people need, what's important to them, and then work with
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
yeah,
It's the difference between giving a lecture and teaching a lesson. Giving a
Hmm.
lecture, you're just giving the information, and it's up to the people in the audience to, consume it. Whereas if you're teaching a lesson, you're presenting the data in manageable form so that the
Hmm.
people in the class can pick it up. And
yeah,
that's the mentality I think that you need to go
yeah.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, that was awesome. Thanks very much, Katie and Gordon and Eric and Yvonne. Those fantastic questions. Don't forget to send your questions to us via the website. And I'm not sure when we're going to be back. So I think you're off soon, aren't you, in your travels, Keith?
I've got a little bit of time, so I think
Oh,
I'm probably
good.
available next week. So,
Are
yeah.
you available next week, Dave?
Yeah.
Yes, I will
Yeah.
make myself available next week.
So we'll
Mhm.
see everybody in 7 days' time. So take care,
Yep.
look after one another, and thanks very much, Keith and Dave, for being part of the Q&A. and we'll see you again from hopefully the weather may have broken a little bit from a very balmy Essex tonight. Anyway, take care, everyone.
All right.
See you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.